Can I see? Okay. This is one attendee. I can't see this person. Is that normal? Oh, okay. Hello. Okay, give me 1 second. Hi, Reese. If you have any questions, you can just put in a chat box. I'm also taking questions from there. And I think we should just wait like another few minutes and see if there'll be more people, so I don't have to repeat myself over again. Okay, I'm just gonna give it like 3 more minutes before I'll start so that we won't have to repeat myself. Okay, so hi everyone. First of all, my name is Kira. I was also a recent graduate from the United States. I'm currently working with Teach For Malaysia in the organization, and I'm in charge of recruitment for US and Australia as well as New Zealand. So, which is why I'm here talking to you today. So because I know this is a webinar, but apparently I can take questions on the chat box or the Q&A like function down there. So please don't hesitate to ask me questions while I'm talking, and I will be happy to take questions afterwards. Okay, so a little bit about myself. I graduated from Western Michigan University. I studied communications and gender studies, came back to Malaysia this year, and then decided that I wanted to do something meaningful. So I chose TFL. I originally wanted to join a fellowship program, but because I don't have a BM SPM requirement, I couldn't. And then instead of that, they offered me a job instead. So pretty happy where I am now, and it gives me the opportunity to work with students again, just like when I was studying back then. So I'm going to start sharing my screen so you can see my presentation. Okay, so, brief introduction about Teach For Malaysia. So we're basically a non-profit organization that aims to eradicate education inequity. Okay, and how do we do that? So before we start today, I'm going to share with you 3 parts of the presentation. First one is experiencing education equity firsthand. So I'm going to let you see a sneak peek of how the reality is like in Malaysia. And then second is the education landscape in Malaysia, although hopefully most of you who studied in Malaysia probably already know this. And part 3, where does Teach For Malaysia come in terms of achieving our goal? How do we make sure that education equity is reduced, and how do we put ourselves, Teach For Malaysia, at the forefront of this crisis? So hopefully by the end of this session, you will have 3 key takeaways. Knowing about what Teach For Malaysia is, understanding the problem in our education landscape, knowing that what is wrong, what is right, what can be fixed, and then lastly, hopefully you want to be part of the solution. So I'm going to start by sharing with you a video of one of a TFM student, and you will see what I mean.
Bila besar nanti nak jadi apa? Bila besar nanti nak jadi polis. Jadi polis? Jadi polis kena tahu bahasa Inggeris tak? Tak. Jadi kamu suka tak bahasa Inggeris? Tak suka bahasa Inggeris? My name is Rakis. Sekarang kamu cuba baca ni. Cuba baca. Cuba saja. Apa ni? Wait, apa? I can to be. Faham tak apa yang dia cakap? Tak faham langsung? Okey, saya tanya Rakis macam mana. Rakis boleh tak kira? 1 sampai 20 dalam bahasa Inggeris. Cuba. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Tak tahu dah. Lepas tu tak tahu dah. My name is Dea Lajimi. I almost 20 years old. 20 years old? What is 13? 13 years old. 13 years old. Okay, Jaya, can you please read this for me? When I
Okay, 1 second. So as you can see, that was an example of a couple students of one of our fellows, 2012 alumni, Swetly, and that is actually the reality of many Malaysian children in Malaysia. And they're not even in primary school, they are in secondary school. These are Form 1, Form 2 kids who cannot count to 20, who cannot say English word beyond like hello, thank you, teacher, good morning. And in fact, they're actually not even always in kampung areas. They're actually sometimes just in Klang, or they are just in Bandar Baru Ampang. So these are the kind of schools that we call high needs schools, because the communities that goes to these schools are often because their parents are unable to afford to give them a better quality of life. However, when you read newspapers or when you read research about urban poverty or whatever in Malaysia, they always give you numbers, right? So what do the statistics tell you? 20% of Malaysian children do not complete their secondary school education. This means that 20%, 1 out of 5 Malaysian kids do not finish SPM, or some even don't make it past PMR, or even after they finish primary school, they don't even continue on to high school. 44% of 14-year-olds in Malaysia do not meet minimum international proficiency levels in reading. We're not talking about them being able to speak like what you see on TV, but minimum proficiency levels, basically something that a child in other countries be able to speak. 44% of Malaysian children, 14-year-olds, are not able to achieve that. And finally, 60%, which is a huge number, more than half of 14-year-olds in Malaysia do not meet the minimum international proficiency level in mathematics. So as you can see, that child couldn't even count to 20. Language obviously plays a role in a child's in someone's development, but to be illiterate as well as mathematically not up to if you're not up to the standards of basic things like reading and doing simple mathematics, what are the odds that these young Malaysians will be able to make it far in life? I'm assuming that everyone here who's joining this webinar are at least meeting the proficiency levels, because hey, we've all made it all the way up here. But do you know that how many children don't? But what the statistics don't tell you is there are reasons why kids fall through the cracks, you know. Some of them, I work after school to help my family. Nobody in the community went to college, so they don't have a role model to look up to. They don't see college as an option for them to go far in life. They don't think, oh, habis SPM nak pergi belajar. They don't think that. They think that habis SPM, kalau gagal, gagal lah. Kalau pas, pas. Kalau gagal, kerja. Kalau pas pun, tak ada beasiswa. They cannot afford to go to private colleges. They just don't see that as a goal for them. I didn't pass UPSR and it's hard to catch up. If you are already left behind when you were young, the odds are of catching up to the rest of your peers later on is definitely much, much harder because you don't have the guidance, you don't have the role model, you don't know, you don't have anyone like helping them. So once you fall back, once you fall, it's really, really difficult to get up. We can tell people that, you know, pull your socks up or like, you know, work hard. But if the circumstances don't allow you to do so, what does it mean? Is it our fault? Is it the education system's fault? Or is it the parents that don't bother about them? It's a combination. At Teach For Malaysia, we see it as a combination of many things. We don't say that the education system is bad because it's not. Some people make it. So why do they make it? Some people don't. Why did they not? There are many, many factors that determines a child's life, and at Teach For Malaysia, we want to change those factors. Which brings me to part 2 of the presentation. How does Teach For Malaysia become part of the solution for education inequity? So you see the 2 kids that I showed you just now. Now let me show you how we want to help those kids. We have a program called the Fellowship, the Teach For Malaysia Fellowship Program. Essentially, it's a leadership development program. So this week, you're going to meet a lot of companies, and a lot of them are going to tell you, we have a management trainee program, we have a graduate training program, all those kind of things. But what's different about Teach For Malaysia is that we have a leadership development program. And our approach at tackling you guys, as in fresh graduates and soon-to-be graduates, is different. What we offer is something not all these other companies can, because we have a very unique way of ensuring that you maximize your potential. So how do we tackle education equity? We Teach For Malaysia. First, we start by recruiting outstanding leaders, which means on my side, as talent acquisition, I talk to you guys, I talk to people, I make sure that these are the kind of Malaysians that we want in our school. And then after selecting them, we train. So Teach For Malaysia provides training. We train and we place them in high need schools for 2 years. Again, going back to what does high need schools mean? If you're familiar with the education system, there's Band 4 and Band 6. So Band 4, 5, 6 are schools that are very low performing and often come from low income communities. So I've been to, ever since interning and working with TFM, I've been to about 5 or 6 different schools. And these are schools in the city, like it's really near my house, it's in Ampang. Yet they don't speak English. They cannot say, I want to be a doctor. They don't even understand what does graphic designer mean. I had to spend like 5 minutes Googling how do I say it in Malay? How do I make this understandable for you? And they were in Form 5. So beyond that, we also cultivate long-term leadership. And this can be seen in our alumni movement, which I'll share later on. Because once you Teach For Malaysia, we make sure that whatever you do, wherever you go, even after leaving the program, you leave an impact wherever you go. And in turn, it goes back to our own long-term goal, which is affect systemic change. Hopefully, we can influence policymakers. We can make sure that the education is fair for everyone and ensure that every child gets the excellent education that they deserve. So, the one of the profile that I'm going to share with you is Swetly. She graduated from the US. Anybody from the East Coast, you're probably familiar with this college. So she actually studied psychology and econs, and she was posted in Negeri Sembilan. She was one of the pioneering cohort, which means the first cohort. So she started teaching in 2012. And actually the students you saw earlier are her students. So she took the video to share with other people like what she would do, because everyone is like, why do you came back from the US and become a teacher? Like you can go so much further in life, you know. So she was trying to just prove that being a teacher is not as easy as it seems, and yet it's not as demeaning as it is, because she recognized that there's a problem and she wanted to show other people that they need to be a part of the solution. So I'm going to show you another video of her sharing about the girl that you saw in the previous video. Hold on.
In my first year of teaching, I had this student, her name is Jaya, and she was 13 years old when I first met her. So she was at Form 1, and what really struck me with Jaya was she couldn't read and write at all. She knew the alphabet, but she just didn't know how it sounded. So I offered to give her extra classes after school, and she took them up. And she would come to my house every day after school, and we'll go through all the books together. So we started at Peter and Jane. This was at level 1A, and I realized that she couldn't read the first word in the book, which was Peter. And we started from there. That was the level that she began with. And we moved from that to a few different levels as well after that. So after Form 1, she could finally finish reading book 1A, Peter and Jane. And then she asked me if she could bring her entire family along to our reading session. And I said, sure. So she brought her family along, and I realized that her entire family couldn't read. So she has a brother who's 16 years old at this point, and he couldn't read as well. What really struck me after seeing all that was the moment when I saw her at book 3A. She was at 3A at this point, but she was confidently reading to her sister and brother, and she was telling them how to pronounce certain words. And at that moment, I realized that I wasn't just teaching her, but empowering her to teach her entire family as well.
Okay. So, as you can see, Sweat didn't just taught her student. By doing what she did, by going the extra mile, by having the different perspective, she actually managed to empower her students' family to be able to be more literate. And it also goes back to my earlier point where if a student is not good, is not performing well in her academics, is it her fault? Is it her parents' fault? Is it her fault that her parents cannot read, cannot teach her at home? While when I was growing up, I went to tuition. And like the concept of tuition and extra classes was not alien to me. But to these kids, it makes all the world's difference. They have no idea that there is more than their classroom. They have no idea that there is more than just survival. And at Teach For Malaysia, we want to integrate all these different elements of education as well as life experiences into their studies. And that's why we recruit non-education majors so that you bring a different perspective. If you're an engineering student, you come in and teach science, do you think it'll be different than how you studied science back then? Very much so, because you know what is boring, you know what works, you know what will catch a child's attention. And that is why we believe that by recruiting through Teach For Malaysia, graduates, young Malaysians have the opportunity to provide a different perspective in their education system. Which brings me next to my following point is what happens after the program. So you've been teaching for 2 years, you know, after 2 years of being in a classroom, being in a high school, what comes next? So Teach For Malaysia's long-term goal is building a movement of leaders in education. We want to ensure that the work that we do goes beyond just 2 years. And in line with the United Nations strategic goals, we discovered that actually most of our efforts are actually geared towards solving problems that are recognized by the United Nations. So by recruiting Malaysia's rising generation of leaders, we transform teaching into the profession of choice. In a snapshot, we're trying to make teaching cool again. You know, we want to change the mindset that teaching is for people who fail in their university. Teaching is for people who don't want to go far in their life. Teaching is a job that doesn't pay well. But if you actually look, the salary of a teacher is about the same as a management trainee of any company out there. Secondly, we develop and train them to be influential, impactful teachers in the classroom. So obviously, it's not just being a normal teacher in the school. We have invested in you. We want to make you to be the best teacher that you can be. So whatever you do in your classroom, we would like to make sure that you are doing more than just teaching. So which is why part of the requirements of your fellowship is in your second year, you will have to do a second year initiative. So second year initiatives can be in the form of research paper or in the form of social enterprises or in the form of just starting a club in a school where it has never been done before. We have fellows, you will see later on, I will share with you, you have fellows who start social enterprises. We have fellows who work with MDEC, who are basically responsible for our country's syllabus for computer science, and so they have their own little maker school. They have literacy social enterprises. We run startups. Basically, everything that involves leaving an impact in the education system. Because essentially, that's what we want you guys to be. We want you guys to be education champions. Thirdly, we place and support our fellows in high need schools across the nation. So like I said just now, you go where you are needed. We have had fellows all over the country, from Penang to KL to Selangor to Kedah to Perak to Sarawak. These are all, so when you come into the TFM and you ask, can I teach in KL? I'm sorry, but you will go to where you need to be. So in the eyes of TFM and the Ministry of Education, when you commit to TFM, you commit to make sure that every child is able to receive an excellent education. Hence, we will post you to schools where we need your skills and your strength the most. However, most of the chances are we have had our fellows teach subjects like English, Sejarah, Maths, Science, Physics, various subjects. So we do make sure that you guys will be prepared when you go into the school. And fourthly, and probably one of the most important ones, is that we want to build a movement of alumni to accelerate systemic change in the classroom and beyond. So we want to make sure that our alumni become leaders in their school. We want to make sure that they take charge, they take lead in impacts and initiatives in their school. And it also goes upwards, where we want to empower JPN, Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri, and PPDs and schools, principals, to customize solutions based on need, to make sure that every school has different problems, and a one-size-fits-all solution is not the way to tackle these problems. So Teach For Malaysia, we want to work with the system to make sure that everyone gets enough help that they need. You can see in our alumni network where our alumni have been. We have people who stay in teaching, we have people who go in the public sector, we have people who stay in Teach For Malaysia and currently helps and guides fellows in their program. We have Alina Amir, who's sort of like a TFM legend herself. She graduated from UIUC. She was a management consultant with Accenture, and then she left because she said, what am I doing with my life? I want to do something more meaningful. So she went to Penang, she got posted to Penang, she taught, and then she co-founded Arus Academy, and it's an after-school program focusing on education through making. And what does making mean? It's basically, she's teaching her kids to be thinking out of the box. So under Alina, Arus has gone on to become one of the leading education social enterprises in Malaysia. She herself was selected to go to Norway to be represented as the United Nations 30 most influential people. She has been listed by many local awards as someone influential, someone impactful, someone who has contributed back to the system. And until today, she still works with Arus Academy, ensuring that more people get access to a quality education. We also have alumni in the corporate world. Kelvin Tan graduated from Monash University. He taught in Pandamaran Jaya, which is in Klang, just nearby here in Klang. And then when he left, he went into consulting with PwC. However, he didn't just stick with consulting. He was actively involved with Project ID, short for Project Impianku Destinasiku, where it has been gone on for 5 years now, and the kids that in this program just graduated. So basically, the Project ID initiative is about making kids work towards something beyond their exam results. So they bring kids to visit AirAsia, they bring professionals in to speak with them and things like that. So making sure that the kids know what else is beyond school. Hold on. Okay, so how does the program work? So Teach For Malaysia Fellowship is 2 years, involving a pre-fellowship and the program itself. In the before you start your fellowship, you will be going through Rancangan Orientasi Sekolah (ROS), and that's basically an orientation week for you to be placed in a school with a existing fellow or teaching alumni, and you experience in 1 week how does Teach For Malaysia teacher work. And then you will go through a 2-month training program, pre-service program, which involves 2 portions, academy and camp sekolah. And this typically runs October to December. As January, you will need to start your teaching already. In the year 1 of your fellowship, you are actually given a scholarship to study postgraduate diploma education. Because this is to ensure that when you finish the program, not only you have experience of teaching for 2 years, you also have the qualifications to do so, which is why a lot of our fellows continue teaching, or when they run education-related social enterprises, they actually have the qualification to do so. You will also be able to attend leadership seminars, you will attend regional conferences, and if given a chance, we have had fellows attending global conferences. Currently, we have 3 teaching alumni in Dubai in the Global Education Conference, the Kadua Conference, and these are the kind of opportunities that you will get through Teach For Malaysia. In your year 2, like I mentioned, you will go through second year initiatives. You will either start your own initiative or publish a research paper or go into networking. So these are the kind of opportunities, perks, as well as maybe some would say challenges, because not only you work during the day, you also have to study over the weekends. However, all of this will pay off as you go into the alumni network. So this is a sort of a breakdown of where our fellows are. So as you can see, a significant number of our fellows go into corporate world. You know, we currently have people like Deepesh, who is now the leading HR I think he's one of the directors in Shell, and he recently just won another award by Shell. We have fellows, we have alumni going into WWF, we have alumni continuing on to grad school. We are currently in discussions with Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy. We have connections with the Chevening Scholarship. So a lot of opportunities come your way upon finishing your program, because we don't believe, for Teach For Malaysia is simple. We don't believe in wasting talent. We don't believe in wasting resources. If you have made it this far, if you have made it through the program, you definitely qualify for a lot of other things, because for us, we have this tagline. It's called, if you can handle a class full of screaming children, you can handle a boardroom full of CEOs. And if you speak to any of our alumni, they would agree with you, because the challenges you see in a classroom really toughens you up. It helps you, it trains you in a unique way that no other company's management training program will. Hence why we call ourselves the Leadership Development Program. The impact that our alumni leave behind is also very significant. This is only 3 examples of alumni initiatives that we've had. If you go to our website, you can actually see a lot more initiatives. I think we have about almost 200 initiatives with 300 alumni, all ensuring one goal. One day, all children in Malaysia will receive an excellent education. So yeah. So over the past 6-7 years, we have over 300 alumni and fellows working together, impacted over 36,000 students in 80 schools across 9 states. We want to go to every school, but that takes time. So far we have hit 9 states. As you can see, from 2012 all the way to 2017, we have covered a lot of places all over Malaysia. And the upcoming cohort, 2018 cohort, it looks like they will be placed in pretty new areas as well. So we're very, very excited for that. So as a recap of reminding you why Teach For Malaysia exists, in an ideal world, we don't want to exist, because when we exist, we know that there is a problem. So we hope to see that one day, in Malaysia, all children are empowered to be leaders of their own learning, their future, and the future of our country. A lot of people don't realize that an investment in education is really an investment in the country's future, because without an educated society, we will definitely go backwards, fall backwards, and then in the end, it will just harm us in the long run. And what we do is we are mobilizing a movement of leaders to empower our nation through education, because Teach For Malaysia sees the solution to education inequity is by placing high impact people in classrooms. There is no better way to experience the education system than being in a classroom. You can't be in the education ministry without being without experiencing what a classroom looks like. How can you? So we hope to see that, you know, especially people who want to go into public policy, people who want to run foundations. If you want to work in education in the future, or if you know something meaningful education, be a teacher. Experience your students' struggle. Experience what teachers experience, and then you will have a better insight. You can come up with better solutions. You can come up with creative solutions to help solve the problem. And our alumni, we are constantly growing. Every year we get more and more fellows. This year we want to hit our record-breaking 100 fellows. And when we have more fellows, we have more alumni. And when we have more alumni, they become lifelong champions of education. And when you have when you work in education, you put kids in the forefront of your mind. So everything you do, you will think about education. So which is why we are always looking to expand our alumni movement. Now I'm going to share with you another profile before we end. It's I don't know if you have watched the movie Adiwiraku, but it's actually based on a real life teacher in SMK Pinang Tunggal. Her name is Cheryl Fernando. She's a 2013 fellow. She graduated from Taylor's, and her story got so famous. Her story of leading her kids to win a choral speaking competition, that they decided to make a movie out of it. So let me just share with you the trailer. I can't share with you the movie, obviously. So I'm just going to show you the trailer.
Keboja binti Yahya. Keboja? Pelajaran tu penting, Keboja. Untuk masa depan awak juga. Teacher pernah tak makan 2-3 hari. Banana. Ni dia Wonder Woman Maidong. Oh ya Maidong.
Arah kau tutup macam mana? Malu lah sikit.
Awak, Wonder Woman tak boleh makan ke bawah ke?
Tak, aku suka Batman. Yang tu je yang balik dia. Yang lain tu bohong lah. Who wants the drawing first? Good. Alright.
Okay, everyone.
Quiet.
Everyone. Let's start practice, shall we? Okay, miss.
Solution. Oh, that. What is science? Just about everything. Take me to Mars. I have discovered oxygen there. Take me to the moon. If we want to make this world a better place, we have to look inside ourselves. Meditate and be the change that we want to see.
And just an incredible hope. I feel the rain telling me to find that monster.
I want to draw all the quiet dreams. Let's understand. Express.
Alia, you can tell me if you want to. Teacher nak tolong Alia. Al-Fatihah. Kau akan selalu cari rezeki. Right. Everyone, can you come forward, please? Come. Just focus on me. Just listen to teacher for 1 minute. Okay? Whether you win or lose, it does not matter. Because in my eyes, you are champions already. Sakit itu sementara. Kegembiraan itu selamanya. Sakit itu sementara. Kegembiraan itu selamanya. Please welcome our 18th performance of the competition. Please welcome them on stage.
Is it a word? Is it a play? Oh no, it has to stay before.
So yeah, that is the movie trailer of Adiwiraku. Hold on. Let's see. So yeah, a little bit more information about Cheryl Fernando. The actress in the movie is not Cheryl, it's an actress. But the fun fact is all the kids in the movie that you see in the trailer are all her actual students. So this was a very low budget indie movie, and then the director said like, you know, what better way to get authentic performances than the students themselves. So the students in the choral speaking scene, all of them were actually Cheryl's actual students. Yeah, so you can see here what sort of impact that Cheryl has left in her school, so much so that at the end of her fellowship, the PPD district of Sungai Petani asked for 6 more TFM English fellows to teach. And because it was so successful, the lessons were recorded and shared with all the teachers in the district, as well as the head of departments, so that they can all learn from their methods. So finally, if you are not graduating, you can join us as a campus leader and an intern, because we take interns in all year long, as well as campus leaders. So campus leaders are essentially brand ambassadors of TFM. And what you do is basically you can create change and impact in your campus, in your Malaysian community. All these opportunities are posted on like the company page of the Seeds Job Fair portal. So if you have more questions or want to know how to apply, you can check it out there. For the fellowship, if you are graduating soon, we are actually launching our fellowship application November 1st. So if you're interested, definitely keep an eye out for us on social media, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and you will be kept in the loop of whenever we start our application cycle. We normally recruit for about 7-8 months because there are a few processes that you have to go through to be selected, which is why it's very advisable for you to apply as soon as possible, so that you have an offer before you graduate. At the same time, you will go through our interview and phone screens much earlier, much faster. Yeah, thank you all for dialing in. Very happy to share with you what Teach For Malaysia is all about. And hopefully I see some applications, either campus leader, internships, or even a fellowship program. And if any questions, don't hesitate to go to our portal and just email either me or my colleague. Both of us are there. And shoot us an email about any questions that you have. Okay, yeah, hold on. Okay, thanks everyone for tuning in.